The question is, when and where should people use video in their webinars? Go.
Well, video is on the rise and is the most consumed piece of content on the web right now. You can't get away. You need to have a video strategy. And so you need to be figuring out ways to get video into your webinar. The issue that we face is that not everyone has access to a facility like we have here today. There's the comfort level. There's a number of things going on. So the recommendation that I give people, number one, is don't do videos for video's sake. If you're going to do it, you want to do it well. Personally, I am not a big proponent of webcam video. I think it's got a place, and that place is for video chats, video conferencing, that kind of thing, but not necessarily when you're putting your brand and your company forward, unless you've got a real competency in delivering over webcam. And so what I would recommend to people is that you start with something that's pre-recorded content. It's more cost effective to produce. You can take a look at it. It can be stuff that maybe has already been sitting around on your YouTube channel, or your agency might put together for you, and deliver that through the platform. Lots, if not all platforms have that mechanism in place. And then graduate towards using a setting like this when it makes sense. If you have emotional content, you're doing a big brand launch, or you're communicating a merger or an acquisition or something, or you really want to raise the profile of someone on your team or part of the organization, this is the format to do that in.
I completely agree with you. You made it under 90 seconds, but I've got something to say.
Yeah.
Video, I think, it's an interactive form of content.
Yeah.
I think it's really nice to be able to see people, and you almost get to know them a little bit just through their body language. When we first started kind of dipping our toe in the water with video, we decided to build our own studio, a small studio, and it worked pretty well, but we weren't able to really get the coaching that we needed to feel comfortable and get the most out of video production, And so often we're asked, where can you get started with videos? Do you have to go into a studio, or can you do it yourself? Personally, I think that for the experience, it's worth getting into the studio.
Yeah.
And so, my question to you is, really, what does something like this cost? Is this unaffordable for a small business who just wants to get started?
That's a bit of a loaded question, but I you know what? No, I understand where you're going, and that's very fair. But I want to hit on a couple of your points, because number one, we did a webinar like this for the Webinar Academy where they asked us very similar questions, and the one thing that I have to stress is being comfortable and working with someone who makes you comfortable is very important when it comes to video, right? You said that you enjoyed coming here. Yeah. Part of that is that we've made you feel comfortable, and we've been able to work with you. And so sometimes I would put that even above technical competence or creativity, because you want to come across as good as possible on video. That's going to help your personal and your organization's brand. So don't underestimate what the power and the value of that. The issue with talking about costs on a studio, and I will talk about costs, but the issue is that when you Google studio, you get this broad cross-section of things that are going to be available to you. One is a TV studio, and if you have the budget, do it. It's awesome. You feel like a rock star. You go in and you'd be surprised. There's studios out there where you walk in and you'll be like, "Hey, this is where SportsCenter was filmed." Like, cool. Yep, you're in the same set. Yeah. But generally, those are very expensive endeavors, and not out of touch for a small business if they really wanted to put the money there on it, but probably not going to get the value out of it. And then there are the open studios where something is called a studio, and you walk in and you're like, oh no, this is just a space that I can shoot in.
Okay.
So what we have working right here is sort of like a corporate studio. It's built for corporate video, or it's not something, although it could, we're not catering towards shooting commercials or anything like that. And that's where you want to be looking as you start your search for a studio. And to do something like this, the next thing that you want to do is to find a place that has sets built in. Because the cost of a studio rental in a day can be doubled if they don't have sets and you need to bring in sets to create something. So you want to, like the set, but make sure that you got something built in. So then an average sort of price point for getting in and doing one of these in a day should be, about $5,000 to come in and do something like this. It can be more, it can be less, depending on where you're sitting and where you are. But that's kind of the number. Is that unattainable for a small business? I don't think so. I think it comes down to what it is they're trying to achieve, and is video right for the message, and if so, what are they going to get out of it?
Sure.
Right?
So I guess, that begs the question, would it be like, let's say around that price point for one webinar? Or would that be, could you shoot a few different things? Like, what does that look like?
I mean, for a studio that's got the built-in infrastructure, that's probably a day rate. Could be a little bit more, again, it could be a little bit less, but it's probably a day rate. And when you got a day rate, you can make the most of it.
Right.
So you can shoot a webinar, you can shoot promo pieces, you can shoot short format content, you can shoot case studies. You basically are paying for things on a half or a full day basis, labor, gear, and room. So I say shoot as much as humanly possible.
Absolutely, yeah.
The X factor when it comes to cost is always post-production. So after the fact, things need to be edited and tweaked and worked through, and that's the kind of place where you have to start either doing it yourself or grinding and negotiating with your partner.
Well, like you said, I mean, it definitely sounds like it would be worth the investment for someone who, it's definitely not out of reach. That's for sure. So if you have the right objectives in place, you know what you want to accomplish.